I'm going to create a complete 4,000-word story based on the outline following all your requirements. I'll write in American English, avoid italics, avoid abbreviations, and format it as requested, with no section titles showing in the final text. I never imagined my dream wedding would end with a single comment on social media. 3 years with Amanda, countless memories and a future planned together, all shattered because of an Instagram live that wasn't supposed to reach me. We were just 4 months away from saying our vows when I discovered her betrayal with her ex Jackson. The worst part wasn't even the cheating. It was how she laughed about it, calling me clueless while her friends giggled along. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you're watching from. Hit like and subscribe if you've ever had that gut feeling something wasn't right in your relationship. Before Amanda burst into my life, I was just another software developer in Boston, buried in code and barely remembering to eat. I had moved there for a job opportunity at a promising tech startup, leaving behind my small hometown in Michigan and the few friends I had made in college. My days consisted of debugging software, and my nights were spent either working late or occasionally grabbing a beer with coworkers. I barely knew outside the office. That all changed 3 years ago, at my colleague Tyler's birthday party. I almost skipped it. Social gatherings with semi-strangers weren't exactly my idea of fun. But Tyler had been persistent. "You need to meet actual humans, Grover," he insisted, "ones that don't live inside your computer." I arrived late, awkwardly clutching a 6-pack of craft beer as a peace offering. The apartment was packed with people, music thumping so loudly I could feel it in my chest. I was about to make my obligatory rounds, and then sneak out when I spotted her across the room. Amanda was laughing at something someone had said. Her head tilted back, dark hair cascading down her shoulders. She wore a simple black dress that hugged her curves, but it was her smile that caught me, bright and uninhibited. When our eyes met, she didn't look away. Instead, she raised her glass slightly in acknowledgement, and I felt my face flush. Tyler noticed my staring and grinned. "Want an introduction?" Before I could respond, he was dragging me across the room. "Amanda, this is the genius I was telling you about. Grover, meet Amanda. She handles social media for that fitness brand everyone's obsessed with." Her handshake was firm, confident. "So, you're the coding wizard. Tyler says you can make computers do practically anything." "Not anything," I laughed nervously. "They still refuse to make decent coffee." She smiled at my terrible joke, and somehow we ended up talking for the next 3 hours. We discovered we shared a love for true crime podcasts, spicy food, and early 2000s indie music. She was sharp-witty and seemed genuinely interested in everything I had to say. By the end of the night, I had her number and a first date scheduled for the following weekend. Our relationship progressed quickly after that. Amanda was everything I wasn't: outgoing, socially adept, and spontaneous. Where I planned, she improvised. Where I hesitated, she leaped. She pulled me out of my comfort zone in ways that both terrified and exhilarated me. Our first year together was filled with weekend road trips to coastal towns, sampling local restaurants and taking ridiculous photos for her Instagram. Amanda had a substantial following. Something about her lifestyle and aesthetic resonated with people. At the time, I found her dedication to maintaining her online presence endearing, if a bit puzzling. "It is literally my job. Grover," she would remind me when I questioned why she needed 15 photos of the same sunset. "Plus, people love sharing our adventures. Is it so wrong to want to document our happiness?" I couldn't argue with that logic, and I was happy. Happier than I had ever been. Looking back, there were warning signs I ignored. Like how often Amanda mentioned her ex-boyfriend Jackson in conversation. They had dated for nearly 5 years before breaking up shortly before she met me. According to her, it had been amicable. They simply wanted different things. Jackson was never ready to commit, she would say. He wanted to travel the world before settling down. I respected that, but I knew what I wanted. I didn't think much of it until I met some of her friends. Melissa, her college roommate, seemed surprised by our relationship. "You two are so different from what I expected," she commented after a few glasses of wine during a dinner party. "After Jackson, I thought she would go for another artist type." Tyler noticed it too. "She sure talks about her ex a lot," he mentioned one day during lunch. "That doesn't bother you," I brushed it off. "They were together for years. Of course he comes up in stories." When I decided to propose, I went all out. Amanda had dropped enough hints about her dream proposal that I knew exactly what to do. I reserved a table at Sorellina, her favorite Italian restaurant, arranged for a violinist, and spent 2 months' salary on a vintage ring with a diamond that had belonged to my grandmother. The look on her face when I got down on one knee was everything I had hoped for. Her eyes widened, hands trembling as I slid the ring onto her finger. People around us applauded as she said yes. Before we had even ordered dessert, she had posted 3 photos of the ring, accompanied by a lengthy caption about finding her soulmate. The next morning, she already had wedding magazines spread across our bed and a Pinterest board with hundreds of pins. I was slightly overwhelmed by her enthusiasm, but I told myself it was normal. Women dreamed about their weddings, right? And if Amanda wanted something spectacular, who was I to deny her that joy? As we dove into wedding planning, Amanda's vision grew increasingly elaborate. What started as an intimate gathering of family and close friends transformed into a 200-person extravaganza at an exclusive venue with a waiting list 2 years long. "We can pull some strings," Amanda insisted. "My friend from work got married there last summer, and the photos went viral. Imagine what we could do with our wedding." I began working longer hours, taking on extra projects to accommodate our rapidly expanding budget. Amanda assured me it would be worth it. Our wedding would be unforgettable. Little did I know how prophetic those words would be, just not in the way either of us imagined. About 4 months before our wedding date, Amanda began acting differently. The changes were subtle at first. A password suddenly added to her phone text messages she would quickly hide when I entered the room, work events that kept her out until the early morning hours. When I asked her about these changes, her explanations always sounded reasonable on the surface. The password was because her phone contained surprise wedding details. The late nights were for a major social media campaign launch. The hidden texts were conversations with vendors she wanted to keep secret until everything was finalized. I wanted to believe her. After all, we were about to commit our lives to each other. Trust was essential, wasn't it? Then Jackson reappeared in her life. Amanda mentioned casually over dinner that he had moved back to Boston after spending 2 years traveling through Southeast Asia. He reached out on Instagram, she explained, scrolling through her phone to show me his profile. "He is doing photography for events now. Actually, I was thinking he might be perfect to shoot our engagement photos." The suggestion made my stomach twist uncomfortably. "You want your ex-boyfriend to take our engagement photos?" Amanda rolled her eyes. "Do not be so insecure, Grover. Jackson and I are ancient history. He is really talented, and he would give us a friends and family discount." I reluctantly agreed, telling myself I was being irrational. When the day of our photo shoot arrived, I watched as Amanda and Jackson fell into an easy rapport full of inside jokes and shared memories that made me feel like an outsider. He directed her with a familiarity that suggested he still knew exactly how to make her look her best. "You always did have that perfect 3/4 profile," he commented as she posed on a bridge in the public garden. "Remember that shoot we did in Provincetown?" Amanda laughed, tucking her hair behind her ear in a gesture I had always found endearing. "That was a disaster. The wind kept messing up my hair." "The photos turned out amazing, though," Jackson countered. "Still some of my favorite work." I stood awkwardly to the side, feeling increasingly like a third wheel in my own engagement photo shoot. After that day, Jackson seemed to materialize everywhere. He was at dinners with Amanda's friends, showed up at the same bars we frequented, and somehow scored an invitation to her cousin's birthday party. Each time, Amanda insisted it was coincidental, or that someone else had invited him. One Tuesday afternoon, I had a meeting canceled unexpectedly and decided to surprise Amanda by picking her up from work. As I approached her office building, I spotted her across the street at a cafe with Jackson. They sat close together, his hand occasionally touching her arm as they talked intently. I watched for several minutes, frozen in place, as Amanda reached across the table and wiped something from the corner of his mouth with her thumb. When I confronted her about it that evening, she had an explanation ready. "Jackson is bidding on the photography contract for a major client my company is working with. I was just giving him some insight into what they are looking for." Her tone was exasperated, as though my questions were an imposition. "Seriously, Grover, this jealousy thing is getting old. If you cannot trust me after 3 years, what does that say about our future?" I felt ashamed for doubting her. Maybe I was being paranoid. Wedding planning was stressful for both of us, and perhaps I was projecting my anxieties onto innocent situations. Still, I couldn't shake the uneasiness. I confided in Tyler over beers one night after work. "Something feels off," I admitted. Am I crazy for being suspicious? Tyler took a long sip of his beer before answering. Look, I have known you both for 3 years. Amanda has always been a bit attention-seeking. But that doesn't mean she is cheating. He paused. That said, trust your gut, man. If something feels wrong, it probably is. The tension between Amanda and me continued to grow as the wedding approached. We argued more frequently, usually about wedding details. But underlying each disagreement was a current of unspoken suspicion and resentment. Despite it all, wedding preparations continued. Invitations were sent. Final fittings scheduled, deposits paid. I told myself things would improve after the wedding when the stress of planning was behind us. We just needed to get through this rough patch. Then came the night that changed everything. I had been working late from my home office trying to fix a critical bug in our company's software before an important client demo the next morning. It was just past 1:30 p.m. when my phone buzzed with a notification. Amanda is now live on Instagram. Normally, I ignored her social media activity. Amanda went live frequently for her job showcasing products or responding to followers' questions. But something compelled me to tap on the notification that night. The video opened to show Amanda at what appeared to be a bar with 3 of her friends. They were clearly several drinks in. Her cheeks flushed, words slightly slurred as she leaned into the camera. So many wedding questions in the comments, she exclaimed, waving her hand dismissively. Yes, everything is on track for the big day. 4 more months, people. One of her friends, Melissa, leaned into the frame. Any cold feet bride-to-be? Amanda laughed, taking another sip of what looked like a cosmopolitan. Why would I have cold feet? Grover is stable, dependable, good job. Everything on the checklist, right? Something about her tone made me sit up straighter. The way she listed my qualities sounded more like she was describing a reliable appliance than the man she loved. You do not sound very excited, another friend commented off camera. Amanda's expression changed, her smile, taking on a mischievous quality. Well, a girl has needs beyond stability. You know what I mean. The women erupted in giggles. My heart began pounding in my chest as I continued watching, unable to look away. Speaking of needs. Melissa leaned in again, lowering her voice, though it was still perfectly audible. Have you seen Jackson since last week? The camera jostled as Amanda playfully pushed her friend. Shut up, someone might hear you. Please, like anyone watching this knows what we are talking about, Melissa countered. Besides, Grover never watches your lives. He is probably coding, or whatever he does. Amanda glanced around the bar before leaning in conspiratorially. If you must know, I saw him yesterday, and the day before that. And another friend prompted. Amanda's smile widened. And let us just say some things get better with time and travel experience. The group dissolved into laughter again. I felt physically ill, my hands beginning to shake as I continued to watch the train wreck unfold. Are you sure this is a good idea right before the wedding? Someone asked. Amanda rolled her eyes dramatically. It is just physical. Jackson and I have history chemistry. He understands that. And Grover is clueless. Amanda sneered, the contempt in her voice unmistakable. He is so trusting, it is almost sad. Jackson could literally be sitting in the same room and he would believe whatever excuse I made up. As she and her friends laughed at my expense, I felt something crack open inside me. Not just heartbreak, but a cold, clarifying anger. Without fully processing what I was doing, I typed a comment. Good to know. Wedding's off. It took a few seconds for my comment to register with Amanda. I watched her eyes scan the screen, her expression freezing mid-laugh. The color drained from her face as she realized what was happening. Grover, she said, her voice suddenly small. Are you watching? I did not respond. Instead, I ended the video and shut off my phone as it immediately began ringing. Amanda's smiling face lighting up my screen. The calls continued for the next hour along with a barrage of texts. It was a joke. You do not understand the context. Please answer your phone. We need to talk right now. It did not mean anything. I sat in the dark of my office completely numb. 3 years of my life, countless dreams for our future, all built on what now felt like quicksand. Around midnight, there was pounding on my apartment door. I knew it was Amanda before I heard her voice. Grover, open the door. We need to talk about this. I considered ignoring her, but a part of me needed the confrontation. needed to look her in the eye and hear whatever explanation she thought could possibly justify what I had witnessed. When I opened the door, Amanda burst in her makeup, streaked from crying, hair disheveled. "It was not what it sounded like," she began immediately. "We were just joking around. You know how girls talk when they get together. Girls joke about cheating on their fiancés." My voice was surprisingly calm. "I have not been cheating." She attempted to touch my arm, but I stepped back. "Jackson and we just met up a few times. It was stupid, meaningless. You literally said you slept with him. Yesterday and the day before." Her strategy shifted instantly. "Okay, yes, it happened. But it was a mistake. I was confused, stressed about the wedding. You have been so distant lately, working all the time. I have been working to pay for our wedding." I reminded her, anger finally seeping into my voice. "The wedding you insisted needed to be at that specific venue, with that specific photographer, with those specific flowers that had to be flown in from Holland." Amanda's expression hardened. "So this is my fault. You are blaming me because you cannot satisfy my needs." I almost laughed at the absurdity. "I am blaming you for sleeping with your ex while we were engaged, for mocking me behind my back, for making me the punchline of a joke with your friends." "It was a mistake," she repeated, her voice softening as she tried a new approach. "People make mistakes, Grover. If you really love me, you will forgive me. We can work through this. Maybe see a counselor." "There is nothing to work through," I said firmly. "The wedding is off. We are done." Her eyes narrowed. "You cannot be serious. We have deposits, paid invitations, sent, family flying in from across the country. You would throw all that away over one mistake, multiple mistakes according to your own words." "And yes, I would." Amanda's demeanor changed again, this time to righteous indignation. "Fine. Walk away. But do not think you will find anyone else who puts up with your boring life, your awkward social skills, your obsession with work. I was the best thing that ever happened to you." I looked at the woman I had planned to marry, seeing her clearly, for perhaps the first time. "No, Amanda. The best thing that ever happened to me was seeing that Instagram live tonight." Her face crumpled, one last attempt at manipulating my emotions. "Please, Grover. I love you. I will do anything. We can postpone the wedding, start over. I want my grandmother's ring back," I said quietly. Amanda stared at me in disbelief. "You cannot be serious." "Completely serious. The ring stays in my family." For a moment, I thought she might refuse. Then, with trembling fingers, she pulled the vintage diamond from her finger and slammed it on the coffee table. "You will regret this," she hissed, before storming out, slamming the door behind her. I picked up the ring, feeling its weight in my palm. It should have been a symbol of our love and commitment. Instead, it now represented my narrow escape from a lifetime of lies. The days following our breakup were a blur of practical tasks that helped keep me functioning through the shock. First came the phone calls. To my parents, to the venue, to the few close friends I had invited. Each conversation was an exercise in humiliation, forcing me to repeatedly explain that yes, the wedding was canceled, and no, Amanda and I would not be working things out. My mother offered to fly out immediately. "You shouldn't be alone right now, sweetheart." "I am okay, Mom." Really, I assured her, though we both knew it was a lie. "I just need some time." The financial fallout was significant. Non-refundable deposits for the venue, caterer, photographer, and florist amounted to thousands of dollars. Amanda texted once about splitting the losses, then went silent when I mentioned the money I had already contributed to her dream wedding. While I was dealing with the practical aftermath, Amanda launched a different kind of campaign. Her social media accounts suddenly portrayed her as the heartbroken victim of a callous breakup. According to her carefully curated posts, I had abandoned her without warning, cruelly embarrassing her in front of friends and family. Sometimes the person you thought was your forever turns out to be a painful lesson. Instead, she captioned a black and white photo of herself, gazing pensively out a window. The sympathetic comments poured in by the hundreds. I chose to stay offline, declining to share my side of the story publicly. What would be the point? Those who mattered already knew the truth. Tyler and a few other friends who had witnessed the Instagram Live fiasco stood firmly in my corner. "She is unbelievable." Tyler fumed after seeing her posts. "Want me to set the record straight?" I shook my head. "Let it go. I just want to move forward." Moving forward proved easier said than done. I threw myself into work, staying late at the office to avoid my empty apartment with its echoes of Amanda. I developed insomnia, my mind replaying her words whenever I tried to sleep. Grover is clueless, so trusting it is almost sad. 3 weeks after our breakup, I received an unexpected text from an unfamiliar number. "This is Jackson. Can we meet? I think there are some things you should know." My initial impulse was to ignore it. What could Amanda's ex possibly say that would make any difference now? Yet curiosity won out, and I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop downtown. Jackson looked different from the confident photographer I remembered, more subdued, almost apologetic as he slid into the seat across from me. "I owe you an apology," he began without preamble. "What happened between Amanda and me? I am not proud of it." I stared into my coffee. "Did you know we were engaged?" He nodded slowly. "She told me you two were having problems, that the engagement was mostly for show, that she was looking for a way out." He ran a hand through his hair. "I should have verified that with someone else." It was not the first time Amanda has rewritten reality to suit her needs. Over the next hour, Jackson revealed a pattern of behavior I had been blind to. Amanda had cheated on him multiple times during their relationship. She had maintained contact with several exes throughout our time together. The amicable breakup between them had actually occurred because he caught her with someone else. "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked when he finished. "Honestly, guilt. And because she is already doing the same thing to someone new." He showed me a recent photo on his phone. Amanda with her arm around a guy I vaguely recognized as a local entrepreneur frequently featured in business magazines. According to Jackson, they had been seeing each other discreetly for weeks, overlapping with both our engagement and her reconnection with Jackson. As disturbing as this conversation was, it provided an unexpected relief. The problem had never been me. No amount of love, attention, or effort on my part would have been enough for Amanda. Her betrayal reflected her character, not my worth. This realization became my first step toward healing. I found a therapist who specialized in relationship trauma, someone who helped me understand the red flags I had missed and why I had chosen to ignore them. "You were in love with who you thought she was," Dr. Winters explained during one session. "That is not the same as loving who she actually is." I also received support from an unlikely source. Amanda's cousin Rachel reached out a month after the breakup. "I wanted you to know not everyone in the family believes her version of events," she told me over coffee. "Amanda has always been creative with the truth. She cheated on her high school boyfriend with his best friend, then somehow convinced everyone he was the villain when he found out." These conversations helped piece together a more accurate picture of the woman I had almost married. The Amanda I loved had been partly real, but substantially manufactured. A carefully crafted image designed to be whatever she thought I wanted. 6 months after the breakup, I was finally ready for a fresh start. I found a new apartment in a different neighborhood, one without memories of Amanda lurking around every corner. I adopted a dog from the local shelter, a scruffy terrier mix named Max, who required my attention and got me out of the house regularly. I reconnected with old friends I had neglected during my relationship and made new ones through a hiking group I joined. Slowly, my life expanded beyond the narrow confines it had occupied with Amanda. 9 months post-breakup, I attended a friend's housewarming party where I met Eliza, a children's book illustrator with a quick wit and genuine smile. We talked for hours about everything from classic novels to the best pizza toppings. When she gave me her number, I felt a flutter of interest but also caution. "I got out of a serious relationship last year," I told her honestly on our first date. "I am still processing some things." Eliza nodded. "I appreciate the honesty. We can take it slow, see where things go. No pressure." That simple respect for boundaries was refreshingly new. As we continued dating casually, I realized how different healthy attraction felt from the intoxicating, but ultimately toxic connection I had with Amanda. 1 year after the fateful Instagram Live, I finally felt whole again. Not despite the experience, but because of what I had learned from it. I had discovered my own resilience, gained insight into healthy relationship patterns, and developed a stronger sense of self-worth. The pain Amanda caused had transformed into something valuable wisdom. I learned to trust my instincts, to require honesty from partners and myself, to recognize that real love should feel secure rather than constantly dramatic. Most importantly, I learned that sometimes the most painful revelations lead to the most necessary freedom. Had I not seen that Instagram live, I might now be married to someone who fundamentally lacked respect for me. Instead, I had the chance to build a life based on authenticity rather than illusion. For those of you watching who might be questioning your own relationship, remember that real love never makes you feel less than. It should add to your life, not diminish it. Trust is earned through consistent actions, not just words. And sometimes the hardest decisions lead to the greatest peace. Have you ever experienced a betrayal that ultimately set you free? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life experiences. And remember, you deserve someone who loves you behind your back just as much as they claim to love you to your face. Thank you for listening, and I wish you the courage to accept nothing less than genuine love and respect.